Right, that should be, yeah, that's me recording now. So, hello, and welcome back to the Muscle and Hustle podcast. We're both live in the same country for once in a blue moon. I put the camera on for you, Mickey, so you can see my lovely face. Hopefully it doesn't glitch out. So, look, we just want to thank everyone first and foremost for all the support, all the love. There's been serious amount of messages lately. I think the following is has built quite drastically over the last year or two, and it's almost turned into like a cult, because it's the same people every week,
Yeah.
same time. It's like ritual. You're prepared for it at that same time, so it's big love because I'm getting a lot of good messages, and I think there's been a lot of support. We've done. I think we could start off with a Q&A, but I think I don't know, Mickey. We're going to talk about it now. We're talk about it later. There's a couple
I
of
may
things.
just we must just jump in. We have big news. Well, big I with big news. Tony,
Yeah,
do you wanna
man.
uh so we're glitching on you, Tony. We're glitching on you, but there. So I have big news. We're not gonna say that the Muscle and the Hustle podcast is coming to an end, but we are we're taking a break for a while. We've been talking about we haven't actually been talking about that long, but life's getting pretty hectic, and as Tony's touching closing in on the big mill followers, and I'm the EJ's going well, life's going well, and yeah, it's hard to explain. Like
The
there's
best
no
way,
drama.
the best way I can
If
explain
anybody's
it is
thinking,
the best way I can explain it is we're trying to see the future of it, where it
yeah,
goes,
yeah,
and we're trying to predict how we level it up. Because if there's no progression, it's a little bit frustrating. Whereas I feel like year one was good, year two was year three and four have been really on fire, and any
yeah,
in-person podcasts we've done have went really well. But it's getting very frustrating because we both want more of them. But even when we're both home, trying to get an organized time for both of us and a guest is it's so difficult because the trade-off is, for example, you sacrificing a gig or me sacrificing recording for reels, and it's
yeah,
trying to get that overlap. So we're struggling for to get guests on, and that's how we're going to make more of an impact, I feel, and it's going to spread it
yeah,
more. So what we've done is we figured out, like, it's not that it's too late to grow or anything like that. It could still go, but we're almost better being like, we would almost be better doing a couple of in-person episodes and making them bangers than the
yeah.
way it is ran the last maybe 3 months. Just for us both, it's quite like this is Sunday 7 p.m. We have to watch the quality of life.
Monday.
Or fuck, it's Monday. Jesus
Okay, so
Christ.
even we're late with this podcast because the whole weekend I've been flat out. Tony family time is right. You know, you need to schedule that in. And even though Tony's in Uri, he may as well still be in Mexico because it doesn't make a difference what we do. It just we're that busy that we're like it's 7:30 at night now, and we probably would be rather doing other stuff or chilling or family time or catching up with friends. But like it's just we were talking off air. Actually, we were talking off air for the last half an hour to kind of try to work out in our own heads what we wanted to do. And as we said, we would love to bring the podcast to the next level, but we're probably joking with ourselves that we have all the time to do it because we don't have that much extra time. Tony's businesses are growing. Everything's growing. My career's growing. I'm touring a lot more. I'm doing a lot more bigger gigs. I'm producing a lot more music. And it got to the point where, yeah, we can make a deal and say, yeah, we're going to grow it. But really, do we have the time to grow it?
It's the bang
Do we
for
have
the
the
buck.
time to like the exactly? And we would be hypocrites if we because we're telling people to work smarter, not harder. And then
We're
we're at the minute working fucking very hard to get these hours out. And even though we don't edit anything, we don't anything, but we have to make sacrifice. Like we have to like it's a lot tougher than you think to get two people that are busy
was four
on the
years like
same. It's 4 years. It's actually 217. And actually, because it was just actually we were looking at some stats earlier, and it's like 218 episodes. You may as well say that's 218 hours plus.
yeah, it
That's
is.
and then that's not counting the 8 minute hustles. That's not counting the bonus episodes that we did.
If you listen to it, so what have you got, about 10? You've got about 10 full days of, if you ever get
Yeah,
bored, you can go back through 10 full days. You'll never get through it. I don't think I've ever listened to that.
and
No, but
it's mad too when we think about like we never. we did no plan to keep this. This is pretty much a lockdown project that grew legs and got a bit out of control, and then it kept going and kept going. And I wouldn't, the sacrifices that we both made to do them, like some of the ones we did in person were class. I'm thinking like Notorious Pizza, the one there with Paul Hughes. You're just looking at like Paul Hughes became a world champion after the podcast, before and after, and then you have boys like Conor Miller became an All Ireland champion, and you had Caroline on a few times whose growth in her industry, and Sean Casey, fucking hell, he's probably the biggest name in fucking social media at the moment. Look, so when you look back over it all, it's been a wild ride, but if we're being honest, we probably are too busy to make it grow, and we could just plod along like two lads chatting shite and having fun and giving out bits and nuggets of advice. And I know that's what some people love, but when you're me and Tony, we want to do more, 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 more.
I think it for me, it's for it to make more of an impact, it needs to be able to have the legs. That's the main issue.
Yeah,
And I think we both know that. So it's like, don't get me wrong, the listenership is like double or tripled every year and it's grown drastically the last year. But to the rate in which it could grow, you're just like, I know the potential it has, but for it
yeah,
to grow, you'd have to sacrifice something else. And when you look at, like, for example, say Mickey done a solo or he done it with somebody else, so you could do it in person. Or I like realistically, I'll not be able to do one with another person for fucking I don't know how long, but it would be a case of if I was to even do solo ones, you could, for example, batch record them
yeah,
once a month, 4 hours back to back, or 4 30-minute blocks, and that's it done, not around anybody else, cutting the reels, repurposed as newsletters, and then it's also you're condensing the intensity of it down. So then you're looking at, right, well, that can be video format. A reel can go viral. It can impact more lives. You're repurposing it. It's hitting out.
yeah,
Like the amount of lines and guests we've had on the podcast and lines you've said, Mickey, or I've said, and I'm like, I would love to get this out on my Instagram. And then, like, what am I going to do? Cut a clip of where it's black screen. It's not
yeah,
going to work, and it doesn't have the same effect again. So for me, it's all about what is going to make the biggest change in a person's life. It's not about the follow. It's not about. And when I
yeah,
look at it, I feel like it's actually there's a better way to do it, and it's just frustrating because I feel like it's the right connection and it's the right podcast, but it's like
yeah, yeah,
it needs to be done in high quality for it to progress, especially the way the podcasts are now moving. Like it
yeah,
it, it needs that progression rate. It needs that, and that's the next step. That's why I was saying to you, like, me and Mickey were talking off air for about half an hour, being like, if there is a next step, we can take it, but the next step is in person with guests more often, stable base. And for the next 12 months, it's very difficult for me or Mickey to commit to, like, right, we'll do 8 when we're home and we'll front load. Because, like, even if I was to say, right, let's do it the weekend, you're like, well, I'm gigging at night, and then you want to do it during the weekend. I'm like, well, I'm filming during the day. So then you're
yeah,
trying to fit in a guest round that all back to back. And it's not like a problem, but I think a lot of people will be in shock to this. But I think a lot of people will also understand, whenever they understand like the business mindset of both of us, it's like, how do you
yeah.
make more of an impact? How do you keep growing something? And then it's also like, do you just keep fucking rinsing it? And if you can't grow something, it will slowly fathom away.
Yeah.
And that's not what we want. We're not tick the box people.
Yeah, we're in at a high like every week. Like I was making a couple of notes coming into the podcast. We actually went into the charts 84 times
That's fucking manic.
in
What's the
11 different countries. And I didn't even know half the countries. Had to actually fucking pay for an app because it would only tell me the last one. So we charted in Canada, in Ireland, in Great Britain, Australia, Sri Lanka, the Philippines, New Zealand, UAE, Spain, Netherlands, and Qatar.
fuck? That's manic, isn't it?
And then there must be people's just moved to the Philippines because we've been in the Philippine charts now for the last 5 weeks, which is absolutely mental. And that was the thing when we started. Like we never planned on this to become big or become a cult following or become anything. We literally did it to try to kind of take people's minds away from lockdown, from the pandemic, and that what it was, and give
Well,
one like snippet of like either humor or advice or one takeaway. We always said if there was one takeaway for every podcast, we've done our jobs, and I think we've over like we've went beyond. We give a lot of people. I know like we keep saying it. We have a cult following. And like I'm very thankful. Like there's not a week goes by where someone doesn't come up to me and mentions the podcast or whatever. Literally yesterday, a fella came up to me during the Liverpool, just before the Liverpool match yesterday. Um, but I think we're probably at a crossroads now where if we were in more stable lifestyles, this podcast could go on, but also we will never be in more stable lifestyles because that's not who we are and that's not what we're about. No,
Take take my
Tony's traveling is everything.
yeah.
My career will never be stable. And I think,
Mine
yeah,
will
like
be
it's not.
stable for about a year, I'd say at least, because I've got
I
like like for example, whenever we outline where the future goes, the first thing I was thinking there is, well, I'm probably going to be in Australia for about 10 weeks at the end of the year. So you're already talking next year, and I'm like, fuck, I don't like that thought process, as you said. It's like
yeah,
waiting
and
forever
then
ever.
we're the other thing we're not saying it's over for good. We're probably saying to be continued. Bit like Top Gun. You might have to wait 20 years for the sequel, but when it comes, you be ready because it'll fucking come. It would be like Bad Boys. You had to wait a while for Bad Boys 2, did you? Maybe not even that long. That might be a
No, I'm
bad.
laughing because this is the last podcast, and if it is, you've no camera on. I'm gonna throw it up on YouTube, so I don't have the man. We've got a black gray
Wait
screen.
there.
This is so
Y-
us.
Your internet may be better now. I turned that off just in case it was.
Wherein
Yeah,
we'll
came out.
see if it glitches, it glitches. At least I'll get a bit of fucking
There we
emphasis.
are.
There we go, looking fresh.
Um, But
I
yeah, it's not it isn't completely goodbye. But we're one thing we did say off screen, we're not going to continue. Like we're probably going to do things on our own, and Tony's probably going to. No, Tony's got too much information not to do shit on his own. He needs to get out of his fucking head somehow. So
oh
Tony's
fuck.
probably going to do things while he's traveling to keep him occupied. I'm probably going to do things, but we won't be doing things under the Muscle Hustle podcast name because that is our name, and it was a silly name at the start. We didn't even know if we liked the name at the start, but we grew to love the name because it's
Yeah, I didn't
fucking.
like the name of this. I didn't.
Uh,
I thought it was a bit out there.
but like it's one thing I think that people took from the podcast. Like it's one thing. It's a catchy name. People love it, you know.
Name was banger, like in the long run. At the
In the
time, I
long
was
run, it
like,
was. But
see, I
yeah.
didn't have much muscle when we started, and there was very little hustle between us.
And I think it ends up the actual name. Actually, we became the names because we're doing nothing but hustle now to hustle to get the podcast done, hustling around the world, multiple revenue streams, multiple businesses, hands in a load of different pots, you know, and then the
Funniest
muscle.
thing is there was no fitness. Like throughout the 4 years, there has to be like
But some of the bigger, but the weird ones when we do fitness ones, I was looking at some of our biggest episodes. Like some of the biggest episodes are the fitness ones.
that's funny because they're probably what people were trying to fucking find, and we were never doing them. But
Uh,
it's funny because like my entire Instagram's obviously built off like fitness, and it's like, what are you listening to the podcast? And it's like completely like I think we
I,
could probably count the amount of times you said deficit in the 4 years. Do you know what I mean? But
uh,
it's just a completely different beast then, you know.
but then that's a good thing too because sometimes when you go online, you're being hit with
Well, like
that much information about fitness and about health and fucking eat this and you got Freddie or fucking Eddie Addo saying eat 55 eggs.
I find the I find the most interesting podcast when they take somebody and he doesn't talk about what he is, like Jimmy Carr on Chris Wells, where he talks about
Yeah.
his life and depression. And I'm getting it from somebody who's comedy, whereas like somebody that is like, I'm tuning in for a podcast and I want it to be on to improve my content. And the person dives down this rabbit hole on mindset, and then the questions are really good. They're about the person, and then you actually get not what you wanted, but what you needed. And I love that about a podcast or a book. Whenever you always notice that it just makes a massive
Yeah.
difference. It's a
Like
very interesting.
Kevin Hart on podcasts.
Yeah, bang
Doesn't
on,
be a
exactly.
comedian. He bangs on about business and about family and about this, and he fucking like it's unbelievable. Like if you tune in to Kevin Hart on Joe Rogan, you do get a few laughs, but you're expecting this boy to be cracking one-liners, and you come out with going, "Fuck, I need to work harder," you know?
Yeah, see, but Kevin Hart's will not dive into him too much, but like different breed. But I think it's very, very interesting when you get like that dynamic because it's just like it's not what you expected, but it's what you needed. And it's like whenever you read a book and you always find the meaning in the book, it's like when people are listening to our podcast, like people will be listening to this through like hard times. Like, do you know what I mean? There'll be people that have listened to this through
Yeah.
when I went through a really bad breakup. So like that will help people learn then. And I will still relate a lot of people back to certain episodes. Like I still do. Like I'll still link clients certain episodes at time periods and be like, give
Yeah.
that a listen. Because I'm like, and even just how much it's helped me grow as an individual is very interesting. Because as you said, there's a lot of shit that goes on my head. Like it technically is like it's like having a conversation with your best friend with no phone for an hour per week, and you just go through everything. So you get smarter at wealth. You learn off each other. You also like you pick up, you vent. You also go through like pretty much like a therapy session to an extent. That's really
Well, that's what it was pretty much when I was coming on the podcast. It was like it is pretty much a therapy session for like for us as well. Like we talked openly about Tony talked openly about his breakup. I talked about mine. I talked about the grief one about losing my mum.
I
You know,
know like
we've
that's
talked
mad.
like people have grown with us. Like if you think about it, 4 years ago, like the amount like we have listeners uh that have got married, with listeners that got engaged. Shout out Notorious Pizzas, they just got engaged. The other guy got married, you know, and like we've had listeners that have moved to different countries, have started new business, have finished uni, they've started uni. You know, the 4 years we've grown and changed, the listeners have grown and changed. And yeah, it's been one of them sort of journeys where um it's what they say, like the best journeys are the most unexpected ones. And the one
Yeah,
thing, like we have always been true, like we've never come on here with an agenda. We've never come on here to try to sell people onto Patreon. No, we've never come on here with anything else other than
I don't think I've ever
try to,
sold anything.
try to give someone something of any sort. Like even there, as Tony said, like last week, the week before, maybe I was speaking to a guy and I actually told him about the grief podcast. I was like, go listen to that, and he sent me a mail on Facebook a couple hours after, and he was like, "Fuck." I listened to it on the way home in the car. Like I can't believe that I spoke so openly, and he was going through something similar. But that's what we set out to do, and we set out to be true. Like I'm sure, like our significant others at that period of time probably wasn't really happy that we were talking about breakups, but we done it in a way where they were
We
it
kept
was we kept there was nothing personal. We talked about from our point of view, from our like how we were feeling, how we were doing, and we managed never to get cancelled, which is fucking brilliant.
like that's the one thing I'll always highlight during whenever I talked about it. I left it about 3 months after my breakup before I started talking about it, and then
Yeah,
because I felt it was too fresh. And then the one thing I'll always highlight is like there's no part where you or me discussed what they done, what the other
no,
person done. It was just on what way you should be reflecting on what you should be doing. Because as we always highlight, the most important thing is it's not the way it's like if you have an argument with a friend and you fall out, how you know if you were actually a good person in the relationship or the friendship
yeah,
or the actual is what way you treat a person when they can no longer serve you,
yeah,
because that actually shows true morals and values. And it's like whenever somebody badmouths, and it's different if your ex cheats on you, or it's different if your friend fucking steals money from you or something stupid. But in terms of it just distance or there's issues or it's mutual, that way that you frame that's so key. And for me, I wouldn't even figure out a lot of my shit without talking through it with you on here. And it's the
yeah,
same,
yeah,
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 like that. I feel like grief podcast you done talking through like your mom. There's gonna be so many people that heard that. Like I remember my mom and auntie cried during that podcast when they listen to that. And it's
yeah,
mad to see that emotion evoked, but it's one of the things where that will give you a lot of comfort, but it also gives a lot of people listening a real like there'll be things that you say like the way I quote Chris Will's podcast or certain things. People will quote certain small like things that they remember, or there'll be a moment of crisis, or there'll be a moment where something goes off, and they'll remember something they learned or something they heard, and that's
yeah,
all that really matters. Like I remember the lad in the gym that came up to me. That's probably the biggest impact moment I had from it. Remember I
yeah,
told you about the lad in the gym that came up to me and said, hey, "Look, I only started listening because my friend shared it with me. Uh, I honestly just wanted to thank you." And he gave me a hug and he was like, because I don't think I'd be here without it. So, and that was during them like heavy hitter episodes. Me and you were doing just after I
yeah.
had fucking hit a wall. And for me, like even that, like 4 years, and probably the fact he was talking about taking his own life and he didn't, that
Yeah.
makes every hour worthwhile. It's really, really nice in that sense.
Yeah, there was a moment that there was a couple of moments stand out to me, like, and that was one of the ones when you shared that, and then we got a couple of nice messages from people over the years, and then there was one guy. was probably around the 12th of July last year. Actually, it was probably coming up the year in Downings in Donegal. I was DJing. And he came up to me and he was wearing our Madgers and he shook my hand and goes, "Well, lad," he goes, "love the podcast." And I was like, "Oh, cheers, man." And he goes, "I keep it up." And he goes, "Lad, you don't, you honestly don't know how much that's helping people." And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, cool. Yeah, cheers, man. Glad it's helping." He goes, "No, no." He goes, and he grabbed me like by the hand and squeezed it. And he goes, "You honestly do not know how much that actually helps people." And he goes, and I'm talking about me and my friends. He goes, "We've been through a lot. We lost a friend." And he goes, he goes, "You'll never know how much that helped us." And I was like, fuck. And like, you don't really, you're in a nightclub, you're getting ready to perform, and you're just like, right. And I couldn't like speak to him that much more, but he was like, "No, lad," he goes, just let you know, like, even though you're from Tyrone, we fucking appreciate it." And then we had a laugh, and then he went on, but it was just, it really hit home that night. And there, even when people like boys that I would know in the town in Oma and Belfast, like it was a Bruce Springsteen the other night, and we were did the first to go to afterwards, and a fella came up and he'd be pretty well known in Belfast in the music industry, and he goes, "Oh, how's the podcast going?" I said, "Good." I was like, "Do you ever listen to it?" He goes, "Oh, lad, I'll never miss it." Like, he goes, "Every week," and I was like, "Seriously?" And he goes, "Oh yeah, 100%." And I was like, and then there was another guy with him. And he was like, "Oh yeah, fuck I." He goes, "We listen to it all the time." And I was like, "Oh, I'd never known that." And he goes, "Oh man," "Oh," he goes, "It's fucking class." He goes, "Really enjoy it." But I like that kind of moment where you're like, you don't realize the people you know are listening. Because
No,
as we
fuck.
always say, like, it's the weirdest thing. Like, there could be nobody listening and you'll never know. No, you like, because
Yeah.
end of the day, you're just speaking on the microphone. I'm speaking to Tony face like through a camera here. But like, if your podcast gets no reach, nobody's listening. So you're literally talking to yourselves. But thankfully, we've never had that problem, and it is, as it says, it's always growing, and it's always been a pleasure. Like, that's the one thing. Like, it's always been, it's never been, it's been hard, but it was never been a chore, because at the end of the day, there was always the greater good, and the greater good was actually helping someone,
Yeah.
or helping anyone. Be it anybody. There was never like, "Oh fuck, I couldn't be arsed with this shit anymore." And it's still to this point, it's not like the point where it's actually harder for us probably to kind of walk away for the time being from it, because we still feel like we want to push on, we need to push on. But if we're to follow our own advice and do walk on our own shoes that we've been telling you for 4 years, we don't have the time to push it on. We don't have the time to work smarter. We'll end up just working harder and
It's just
going
gonna
and
stay the same.
it's just staying the same. Like,
And there
so I
needs to
just
be progression. It has
and
progressed mentally, and we've spoken better, and it's just that route.
Yeah.
It's
And
just
it's probably helped us. It's probably helped Tony for his reels. It's helped me for talking in front of the camera. There is loads like and personal growth. And it's probably made us more self-aware that people do listen to us as well. Like, and then
better
like, it's just
speaker.
better. Like, there was like, I flicked up our podcaster app thing earlier on today, and it was just like looking at all the different countries. Like, I just put down or wrote down a few countries in my notes that people listen to us, and this just it blows my mind. Blows my mind, first of all, that they can understand us.
It has
It's
to be
fucking
Irish people in them countries, though.
so China, Iraq, Botswana, Guatemala, Ethiopia, Bermuda, Somalia, and Iran. And that was only this week.
Surely it has to be though. Like,
But I know it could be. Well, I know some of them are going to be peacekeepers in the Irish Army. China has to be an English
it has to
teacher,
be people just working out there, mate. Like, it's like whenever I
an
listen to
army and stuff. But
I listen
like,
to podcasts on the plane all the time, so you could get a hit whenever I'm in Mexico and be like, "What the fuck's going on here, Joe?" You
but
looked.
like,
If I was listening to our podcast and everywhere I've been, you'd be like, "The States, Mexico, there's fucking some there whenever you're out in fucking
but
Bahrain and
like,
all."
I just think it's mad. Say if they're like somebody's in Somalia doing aid work with me and you in their ears.
No, but then it's one of them things where like I tune in the same podcast people all the time because they become like yours. They
Oh
become
yeah,
very low. Like the ones I listen to in particular, like I always refer back to my day-to-day life. I learn a lot from there. A lot of my downtime. So like a lot of people will feel the pinch of this. Will try and fill the void through like doing other podcasts and obviously more long form content. I'm probably going to start trying to do more YouTubes now as well.
Yeah.
But like we'll do our best to still provide the value because I know it matters a lot to people, and we're gonna me like Meggie was to me, you've no idea. I can sense it. I think we're gonna get a ton of backlash. And I was like, well, all the times we ask for people to rate, review, comment, and fuck me, you get about fucking 3 ratings a week and about 6,000 people listening. You're like, what the fuck's people going on here?
But funny enough, every time I'm late, there's a boy from every time this podcast is late, there's a guy from Derry who texts me, goes, "When you're lazy, get that podcast up, lad. Some of us have work to do." So I know, like, we are
People
part of
waiting.
people's mornings. We're part of people's routines.
Well,
People are waiting on it, but like,
gonna be waiting
you're going to be waiting. You're going to be waiting a right while for the one after this one. But the
It'll
thing
be
is,
nice to
Tony,
take a week off though.
fucking sure will be. I'm just thinking to myself, I've 218 times I've had to upload a podcast onto that fucking website and think of a stupid name.
That how long does it take to upload? I've never
Oh,
uploaded.
does it? Tony is net. Tony doesn't even know what the fucking website looks like to upload it.
No, it's Podcaster. It was Anchor, wasn't it?
It's changed now. It was Anchor, and then Spotify bought it to Podcaster, and it literally changed last week again. So it's just Spotify now.
Is that all you
Um,
uploaded to?
No, well, the Anchor became Podcaster, and now Podcaster is just Spotify. So you still have the Podcaster app, but you're pretty much it's just Spotify now.
And does it not
And
upload
then
it uploads the thing as well, though, doesn't
I
it?
will they distribute it out.
Does
Um,
anybody ever use Apple anymore? Like,
Yeah, that's where well, all them 84 times we charted is all Apple.
yeah, I suppose. But then I wonder, like how many people is on Apple compared? Like, I would
Spotify doesn't
no.
Spotify doesn't share data that much. They're like Netflix. They don't like sharing all the data because then you might look for money.
That's fucking
Um,
annoying.
Yeah, well, Spotify was created by the guy who created BitTorrent, who used to get your games off in your videos. So,
What the fuck?
but no, it's like, yeah, as we said, it's not over for Muscle and the Hustle. It's probably to be continued. When? Who knows?
Day by
Where or
day.
what? No, day by day, we'll see. Tony's going to continue doing his thing. He's still going to be giving out all the info, all the value, but it's probably going to be on video form. So, you're already on his YouTube already, and his socials. I'm probably going to do. Be doing something, but I've a few different options. But also, things are hectic at the minute with gigs wise, music wise. I have a song out next week. I think I can't even fucking remember.
You'll be glad to take a break. I think, and so
I'll be glad to take a break, but also I fucking know rightly this time next week I'll be missing it. Like fuck, you'll be like, fuck,
Yeah,
I need to do this. It's like when you get it, it's part of even though the routine's hectic, it's something that you're like, right, I have to fit this in. It's like we'll send each other a text on a Monday or Tuesday and go, right, when can you not do this or when can you do this? And we'll give each other like windows.
Yeah.
And as we get closer to them windows get very small. And you're like, I can't do Friday anymore. I have to jump on. Tony's scaling his business so much. Look, he's hired staff every day. So he's like, can't do Friday anymore. I'm on like 20 fucking
Zoom calls. No, I
interviews.
fucking stopped.
Aye.
Like, it was like the day when you goes, what time can we do? And I was like, mate, I'm gym from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. I'm filming from 8 to 11, and then there's staff calls to 4, and like hiring people and fucking a couple of our, like, I had obviously mentorship calls and that too, but it's just like what the fuck? And it's like normal people, like, even at that, like, fair enough, it's a Monday, but it's like, like, then if you've worked a Saturday night, and like that's usually where I'm free, it's like, well, fuck me, you want a Saturday night too as well. So it's just, mate, fucking mental. But it's we'll see how things go. I reckon I'll do a podcast or a YouTube where I'm just talking to the camera to give the value still, because I think a lot of
Yeah.
people will fucking hound me for it otherwise. So I reckon it'll just be like higher quality, and then you'll see a lot of it repurposed on the Instagram because that'll just be easier in newsletters. But
Yeah.
I'm
And I,
definitely
and I
gonna take a
think I
small
think
break.
we'll be taking a small break and then we'll be doing our own things and then hopefully somewhere down the line we'll end up wherever we are, we'll end up doing a catch up or a reunion podcast or something, but we can't really we can't put a date on it or a time or when and where. It'll happen when it happens, and as always with us, it'll just be an organic thing.
I rate that.
Um, but so we don't really have much else to kind of
We'll
touch
call
on
from
today.
there.
So that's yeah. So guys, once again, just thanks for everything. It's been an emotional roller coaster. We've had some fun
Mad, I think
over
it's
the
been 4
years, and
years.
if you're been someone who's listened to day one, thank you so much. If you've sent us a message or you've rated and reviewed or you've just pretty much shared it with anybody, done anything, well, it's we can't tell you enough how it's appreciated. It's been a crazy run. We probably didn't think we would ever get this far, and we'd just like to and thank all the guests that have came on, and especially the guests at the start who took a chance of coming on a podcast that probably had we had no following back then, we had no nothing. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, thank you so much. It's meant the world. Fuck, that is absolutely nuts. It's been 4 years.
4 years.
It's pretty much
200
4 years and a month on the button, month or two on the button.
218 episodes plus
Yeah,
8
probably.
minute hustles and plus a couple of bonus episodes.
That's manic. Right. Well, we'll see you in the next one.
You don't
whenever that
have to
is.
you don't have to rate and review, guys.
No, fuck that. I still want the rating review. Don't be fucking. If you
Rate and
listen
review,
to these-
share with your friends. You know what? And if someone in your life is going through something or whatever, send them back to a podcast we talked about something. Don't be afraid of that, and also still don't be afraid to reach out.
Yeah,
You
viewers
know,
can do
if you
anything.
need advice or you want anything, like the socials are still going to always be there. The Muscle Hustle page is going nowhere. Reach out, give us a shout. And yeah, like if you want to share it into your stories or whatever for the final time, work away. And I'd say we'll catch you again soon at some stage.
All right, big love. It's not the end. Just see you later. I
See you later. To be continued. Good luck.
feel like Paul Walker.
Jesus. You need to hit your
Does
stop recording.
if well, you could say it feels like that though. Do you know the scene in it where like they do that? You might have to cut that bit out.
I'd say so.
That'll be the only part you'll ever have to cut. It feels like that Paul Walker. Do you know where Vin Diesel and him? Do you ever see the meme where they put his head in one car and his in the other, and then they drive them off in the split?
Yeah.
That's what I'm about. I feel like Paul Walker. People go like he feels dead. Holy fuck! Right, mate. Call her
I'm
there.
sweating like a fucking pig.
I fucking can't blame you. I'm fucking the same, mate. It's fucking this heat's fucking cat, and I've about fucking 70 check-ins doing it for fuck's sake.
Oh, have you? I have to. Where do I have to go? I have to go get music equipment out of the pub from yesterday.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Oh no, them speakers are 40 kilo each, and I swear I haven't trained in 2 weeks, and they feel like 100 kilo lifting them into the car
I'd fucking say so. Your back be fucking
because
busted.
they're weird old shape. They're a big square, so you're like carrying them at a weird angle. But right, I'll get that up. No, you know what? I'll put it up so it's released in the morning at 6 a.m. and then sure you can watch the onslaught in your socials head.
Fuck me. Right, we'll see how this goes.
What do you want? What should we call it?
Is this the last muscle and hustle question mark?
Aye. We'll call that. No more. That'll do, kid.
I think that's a good one. Or you could go, it's not the end, it's just goodbye for now.
Aye.
Something
Aye,
like that.
I'll have a think. I'll send you a message over. I'll have a think. And we'll get it uploaded.
All right, sweet, bro.
Well, take it easy. Chatty soon.
Big love, bro.
Bye,
Care
bye,
yourself.
bye, bye, bye.